Repetition proves that Einstein was wrong. For a long time, I really hated repetition. It was boring, tedious, and quite frankly, just doing the same thing over and over again and not seeing any improvement really felt like insanity. I mean, isn't that what Einstein said? Doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. I mean, that was just madness. But through repetition when drawing, I did the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. And guess what? It actually worked. I didn't just get different results, I got better results. The question though is, why? Why did this work? And more importantly, why did it take so long? I later on learned that it all had to do with something called muscle memory, which, fun fact, muscle doesn't actually have memory. It's just connected to the memory in your brain through your nervous system. You can think of your nervous system as a nice long chain of neurons interconnected together to form the electrical wiring of your body. And every time you make a physical movement, like drawing a line with your pencil, it strengthens the connection between those neurons. Think of it this way. It's like carving a new path through a forest. The more you walk down that same path over and over again, the clearer it becomes and the easier it gets to walk through it. However, as great as the brain may be when it comes to learning through repetition, there's something you need to remember. The brain doesn't know the difference between what's right and what's wrong. So if you repeat the wrong thing over and over again, well, that's what your brain will learn. So the question is, how do you make sure that you're doing it right so that the brain will take in the right information? We've all heard that slow and steady wins the race. The same holds true when learning to draw. At first, your movements need to be slow, deliberate, intentional. This makes it a lot easier to find mistakes and correct them. But don't worry about speed. That will come to you naturally the more you correct the mistakes and familiarize yourself with each motion. The next thing you can do to help your brain learn through repetition is to repeatedly expose yourself to anything that's related to drawing. For example, one of the things that I like to do would be watching drawing videos on YouTube, watching the behind-the-scenes footage of my favorite animated films. I also like exposing myself to the kind of things that I like to draw. You can watch animal documentaries to learn to draw them, watch car videos to learn to draw vehicles, and watch a documentary on swords and shields to learn to draw weapons and armor. Doing this is good for the brain because it exposes it repeatedly to the kind of things you want to learn. But what if you could learn through repetition without really doing anything at all? I call this the lazy way. You see, just as how your brain doesn't know the difference between right and wrong, it also doesn't know the difference between what's real and what is imagined. This is where visualization comes into play. If there's anything you see that you wish you could draw but can't, or maybe you just don't have the time, just stare at it non-stop and imagine yourself drawing it line for line. This will trick your brain in a way that will continue to further strengthen the neurons connecting it to your muscle, thereby improving your muscle memory. If you do all these things on a long enough timeline, you will one day look back and say to yourself, wow, Einstein was wrong. Repetition isn't insanity, it's genius. So keep it pure, keep it simple, and keep it pencil. Good luck and goodbye.